truth be told, LAFC were planned to lose this game. Not planned by the players in the locker room or the coaching staff, but planned from the outside. Whether or not they were going to advance in this group at the Club World Cup was always going to come down to their next two games against Flamengo and Tunis, rather than this game against Chelsea.
Was Chelsea taking on LAFC. Chelsea getting the 2-0 victory courtesy of goals from Pedro Neto and Enzo Fernández. And Ian, we'll break down the game in just a moment. We want to talk first about the attendance at the ground. Just over 22,000 fans announced, but there were vast swaths of empty seats for this game as the game was in Atlanta, so it's a long trip for the LAFC fans. They only found out they're going to be in this tournament 2 weeks ago, but you're still surprised, given how much has gone into this tournament, the promotional push. Yeah. You understand, mitigating factors. It's a Monday, it's 3 p.m., it's a long trip for a lot of fans, but you're still surprised that it kind of looked like this at kickoff.
Listen, they spent over $50 million in promotion to try and get people to turn up to these games, and the biggest problem was, I thought, that people didn't quite understand how big this tournament was and what exactly this tournament was. Okay, they were vocal, they were trying to be involved in the media as much as they possibly could, FIFA, but they just found it really difficult to try and pull those fans in. This one's a little unusual because LAFC fans, congratulations to those fans who travelled for that game, and there was a lot of LAFC fans out there, and it's not easy to make that trip. Also, the timing of the kickoff as well doesn't help. I mean, obviously, some areas, kids are still in school, so it's a big problem, obviously, trying to make sure that these stadiums, especially these vast stadiums that are NFL stadiums that have 80 to 90,000 fans there that you would expect to be absolutely packed, they will be for the World Cup because you have momentum going into that. But the momentum going into the FIFA Club World Cup was nobody really knew what it was.
Yes.
50 million is probably not enough to promote this type of a competition in the United States of America when you've got multiple other sports grabbing all the attention of the locals. The fans who are travelling from far are actually doing a great job, and I think building up momentum towards these games. We see them obviously locally in New York City, in Times Square in particular, making a lot of noise. That's great. That's great promotion for the competition. But what I do not like to see, and I certainly didn't like to feel when I was a player, was half-empty stadiums. That's not a good look.
And let's also mention the price point as being part of this as well. Tickets going for well over $80 as well. So there are many reasons why.
Down from 400.
Right, exactly. There are many reasons why, but still not a very good look. Let's talk about the game, though. Let's talk about LAFC. Of course, they were the last team that had to play a playoff with Club America in order to get here. And in some ways, every MLS team is carrying the flag, not just for themselves, but for the league. How do you feel like they got on against Chelsea?
I thought the first half they could have done a little bit better. It was interesting to see what happened at halftime, waiting for Giroud to come on, and someone apparently forgot his jersey, so eventually did get on the field. But thankfully he did, because I thought he made an impact in that second half. Martinez actually did a very good job in that second period as well. LAFC should have scored a goal to equalise in this game. They should have scored a goal. So for me in particular, LAFC have had a really standout performance. There's obviously been a number of Major League Soccer teams that I still think could do better. Inter Miami could have done better and potentially have won their own game. And Seattle as well could have done a bit better than what they ended up with. But this one in particular was as close as I've seen. I thought LAFC in that second period against a European champion, right? Let's not forget about that. This is Chelsea, who have hundreds of millions of players on the field, and LAFC shone brightly in that second period. I'm interested to hear your take as well, because Bouanga in particular in the first half, relatively non-existent. Second half, he created all sorts of problems.
Yes, I think he had a lot better run against Malo Gusto than he did against Reece James in the first half. Came off at halftime, but I do think that there definitely were moments where, particularly with Bouanga, where you see him in MLS and he can run right against teams. It's a different kettle of fish that you're dealing with here when you're talking about the level of Premier League defenders. And I know it's so interesting because we talk about the Premier League week in, week out, and we say, oh, those Chelsea center backs aren't good enough. But it is relative to the very best. When they come up against players from MLS, there is just that level of difference where they were able to handle it. But I agree with you. I thought in the second half, they handled themselves very well, LAFC. They were cautious about how much they threw at it because ultimately you're trying to get out of a group. You probably look at a game against Chelsea as damage limitation from a goal difference standpoint, but I still think that they took their chances to throw punches. They just couldn't finish any of them. And then there was a moment where they had a good chance down one end, and then down the very next moment, Enzo Fernández is finishing. And that is sort of the difference at this level. If you don't take your chances, you will get punished.
100%. And playing against, obviously, the Premier League clubs who are coming off the back of their long season, especially Chelsea. They've gone through a European campaign as well. It's been unbelievably long for them. So you would have expected Chelsea to take the foot off the pedal at some point. I thought Chelsea went for it. In that first half in particular, they were absolutely up for the battle. You saw some battles battles in midfield. You saw Cucurella mixing it as well. And they really wanted to win this game, Chelsea. So it wasn't as if they took their foot off the pedal and just allowed LAFC back into this game. The actual quality from the Major League Soccer club was really entertaining for me. Because in the second half, they played this style where they won the ball in the right areas. They sort of counter-attacked with the pace that they have with Martinez and then Bouanga. The problem you've got, and that's what you just pointed out there, is the final product. It's the finishing product. That's the difference between top-class teams in the Premier League and top 5 European leagues, and obviously top leagues around the world, and here in Major League Soccer. You can obviously miss 1 or 2 in Major League Soccer, but you know you're going to get a 3 or 4 opportunity in front of goal. Against teams like this, I mean, I can tell you from personal experience, you're lucky if you get 1 chance.
Yeah, and Bouanga got his 1, and he was saved by Robert Sanchez. He tried to go near post and
save.
Right, and when the far post was probably on. Let's talk about Chelsea, though, because this Chelsea side, a lot of conversation about the expectations going into next season. They won the Conference League, they qualified for the Champions League, but now going forward, I think there's a lot of excitement as well about the new signing, Liam Delap up front. All the talk about them getting a striker goes and puts in a very good cross for the second goal of the game. What did you make of Delap's cameo?
Yeah, I thought Delap was very active since he came on the field. Obviously, he's a bit of an impact player when it comes to how robust he is. He loves to battle with players. But I also think he's got an element of great quality about him when he actually has the ball at his feet. His movement is absolutely tremendous off the ball, and he makes these runs determining the pass. And I think it's absolutely fabulous for Chelsea because they need that type of a player that not only wants to score goals, but can be a creator as well, as proven with the goal for Enzo Fernández. But I just think that Chelsea are in a good position. Obviously, they didn't need to be at full pelt in this matchup. They went with an incredibly strong lineup. Caicedo in particular, midfield, I thought was outstanding in the first half in particular. The amount of passes he broke down, the amount of balls he won in midfield, then feeding off to his talented players around him. Neto stood out incredibly. I thought he was very, very good, especially that left foot. He's a bit of a danger player, but they never really looked like they were in too much trouble. And that's the big problem I have with this competition so far, is that Chelsea defensively didn't have to be at their best, but offensively they weren't far away from their best to actually get the victory and get over that finish line. But LAFC should hold their head incredibly high. They pushed Chelsea. They tried to do everything they could to just simply get a goal in this game and maybe even tie it up and get something from this game, because a lot of money's on offer for that. But Chelsea look good. They look okay. Room for improvement. Looked a little tired in stages of this game, but I still think Chelsea will go deep in this competition. They look like they're here for business.
And they get the 2-0 win courtesy of Neto and Enzo Fernández. Let's hear now from our MLS correspondent, Tom Bogert, on his thoughts of LAFC's performance.
LAFC dropped their opening match at the Club World Cup 2-0 to English powers Chelsea. And while there was plenty of positives to take away for LAFC, this game showed the gulf in quality between Chelsea and LAFC, which you would expect between an English power and an MLS side. For LAFC, the way that they were going to be competitive in this game was to defend really well, take their chances in transition through Denny Bouanga. Well, the defending was pretty good, but not always great. Particularly, they were slow at the beginning of the game. You could tell that the difference in the pace of play against Chelsea was taking them a little while to get into. Jeremy Ebobisse particularly struggled until he was subbed out, and Rawlings Hollingshead was made a fool on the opening goal for Chelsea, but he recovered as the game went on. For LAFC, it was 1-0 in the second half, and they got exactly what they'd been waiting for. A chance for Denny Bouanga, 1v1 with the goalkeeper. He did not put it away, and when that happens, they didn't really have a chance because the margin of error for LAFC at the Club World Cup is much different than LAFC in MLS. Again, that's not anything new, and that was to be expected. Truth be told, LAFC were planned to lose this game. Not planned by the players in the locker room or the coaching staff, but planned from the outside. Whether or not they were going to advance in this group at the Club World Cup was always going to come down to their next 2 games against Flamengo and Tunis rather than this game against Chelsea. Some positives are 2-0, could have been worse, ? Because if this comes down to goal difference, this 2-0 ain't bad. We'll see what else plays out throughout the rest of the group stage. But again, the results against Flamengo and Tunis will prove whether or not LAFC will get out of this group. So, as we sit here right now, there are some positives to take away. Denny Bouanga is somebody who I would back to take those chances as he continues to get them. Olivier Giroud looked pretty good in his time. He definitely looked better than Ebobisse. I would expect him to start the next game. Nathan Ordaz left with an injury. That's unfortunate. He looked very lively as well. But LAFC have plenty of options. Hopefully Delrosin will get his visa so he could play. He was unavailable for this game for that reason. So LAFC, they proved that they were pretty good, but not quite good enough to compete with Chelsea.